Welcome to day 4 of the screenwriting journey for whatever the script is going to be called, because I don't really have a title for it yet. As we left off, they were just finishing up their sand volleyball game. Lexi finding out that Holly has something to tell her, in addition to her having something to tell Holly. And we set up the fact that they're going on this vacation, not vacation, but like a weekend getaway to celebrate her birthday. So when we get into the dining room, she's a little surprised that there's this formal dinner for two, as we say. And so at this point, this is the first time what will be the two main characters are meeting. We've got Holly, who is the U.S. Marshal, which of course Lexi doesn't know. And then we've got Lexi, who is the almost 18-year-old girl who has something to tell Holly that she is not really nervous about, but she has found out that Holly has something to tell her. Now, hopefully there's some humor that is going to be sprinkled throughout the script. And so what I thought, and I thought this long before I wrote this dialogue, is this sets up the fact that maybe Holly is not the best cook in the world and, just sort of makes do and has made do as Lexi's grown up, etc. And so Lexi doesn't want to totally diss her, but it's like, what is going on here? Which makes her even more nervous. As I said, I'm doing this commentary about a month after having written this. And one of the things I noticed recently in my writing is that I use that 14 years later, or the 14-year time passage, a lot. So I later went back and switched that. However, so another thing I struggle with when writing the script is how much actor direction to include. And, you've got a beat, you've got takes a moment, share a look, share a thought, share a moment. There's a lot of those things that aren't really actions, because all they are is mostly the reactions when you have two actors look at each other. Of course, in a novel, you have to say what they're doing when they're looking at each other, a meaningful look, thinking about the days past, whatever. But in a screenplay, it's always a question to me of, do you just let the dialogue go and assume that the actors and the director will pick up all of the visual cues they need to convey through the dialogue, or do you occasionally have to put something in there? And what I found is that the less the better, because I used to put way too much, and I think I still put a little bit too much. But unless they're actually doing something, picking up something, throwing something, walking, running, whatever, obviously you've got to put that in there. And so, can you convey something with what they're doing, or can you give just enough direction to an actor through a line of description that they wouldn't have picked up by just reading the dialogue? So if it's something with like irony, sarcasm, an unexpected reaction. So if someone told you your mom died, naturally everyone would be sad. So you wouldn't have to write in Becky is sad. But if the character feels something else that they wouldn't normally feel, then that's something that I would write in. So now that I've said all that, I've kind of lost track of where I am, but I'm sure you're keeping track, listening as well as reading along. I did find out something interesting. The Witness Protection Program is actually called the Witness Security Program, WITSEC, which is good because it's a lot quicker to say. And boom, there we go. This is what, page 10? Page 9, I'm not your aunt. And as I wrote in there, it hits Lexi like a ton of bricks. That's probably something the actress would know, but I wanted to put that in there because it literally is kind of staggering her. And then, of course, you're thinking as a writer, getting inside the character's head, what would this almost 18-year-old girl think after all these years? never questioned it. And so that's the kind of thing that typically I'll write and then go back and have some more thoughts and rewrite it. And as I read this, I'm trying to remember if in the current state of the script and in right now, how much of this dialogue remains and how much of this scene remains. This is super, super interesting. I highly recommend it. So again, we've got exposition and that we're trying to weave in with drama. Obviously, this is a pretty dramatic scene. The conflict here is that Lexi hasn't told Holly what she's going to do, which is very small potatoes in comparison to what Holly just told Lexi, which is she hasn't really been lying to her all these years, but she's been holding something supercritical back. Of course, the reason being is what the supercritical thing is. And now, boom, page 10, kind of the inciting incident, which is kind of their road trip, is that Holly already knows exactly what Lexi and her friends are going to do. And as I wrote, Lexi sits there with her mouth hanging open. Can you imagine? I don't know for sure how long the four have been planning this in, quote, secrecy. Holly obviously knows because I don't want to give, well, I guess it doesn't matter if I give anything away. She knows because she has to know. That's part of her job. And she admits that she feels horrible about it. And what I like to do with lines of dialogue, I found myself doing this more and more, leave it that open-ended, because I read somewhere, heard somewhere, that confusing dialogue is often the most interesting because the other person may take it a different way, and that will reveal something about their character, and then the story can spill out from there. So when she says, I feel horrible, Lexi's immediate question is, well, what exactly do you feel horrible about? All these years you've been lying to me or not telling to me until now. And Holly admits that what she really feels bad about is not telling her till now, which gives Lexi a little bit of insight that even though this is Holly's job, maybe she doesn't mind what she's been doing all these years. And so now Lexi is saying, oh, okay, now I'm going to meet my mom, and this is going to be very awkward. Holly is telling her that she doesn't exactly know what's going to happen because she's not going to go with her. It's going to be someone else. I'm just reading my dialogue, and I'm trying to catch up with myself. So as you know, I sped this up 5 times on the video, which is why I look like I write so fast. And now, boom, on page 11, which is still good, she is heading for her new assignment. She's out of her life. Lexi is like, oh my gosh, you're not my aunt. You're a federal or a U.S. Marshal, and oh my God, OMG, you are leaving me and I'll never see you again? What? I'm really trying to get Lexi into a place of like bafflement and discomfort and anxiety. So then Paul calls, and this is when he drops the bomb on Holly. And what's the bomb? Lexi makes the joke that her first class seat is taken. Holly looks up and matter-of-factly tells Lexi that she is going to be the one driving her up. And Lexi, being a teenager, it sucks to be us, doesn't it? So think about it. It truly does suck because Lexi thought she's going with her friends for maybe a romantic, who knows what weekend, fun-filled at the least. Holly thought, even though it would probably be hard to do so, she's going to say goodbye to Lexi, going to go on to this maybe high-profile case in Miami where I believe it's something about confiscating stolen goods or something. And then this introduces the idea that Holly is going to drive Lexi up, and then they can talk along the way. What am I going to tell my friends? That basically meet me up there, so that establishes the fact that there's going to be Holly's car and there's going to be another car up there, which could be important later on. And now Holly is laying out the big sort of bombshell that after you meet your mom and after, the weekend's over, the rest of your life is up to you. And I think maybe on day 5, we're going to get a little farther into that. Man, these days go fast. That was 10 minutes, so I wrote for about an hour that day. And I should say that when I'm leave my computer or doing some research on the internet or whatever, I try to remember to pause this. So if I record for an hour, I may have actually been, quote, working on the script for an hour and 20 minutes or an hour and 30 minutes or something. But that's all for day 4. Tune in for day 5 another day. See ya. Bye.